Good morning and welcome to Dripping with Meaning. My name is Nicole Marie Campbell, and this is Spirituality Gone Wild Network. Good morning, everyone. It is a very exciting time with all these Neptunian tuning in. And I see some people out there already. Thank you for showing up. It's awesome. Today, and moving into Yule or Christmas for some, Hanukkah for others, we're looking at the topic of forgiveness and that divine connection that we make when we do forgive and we learn the grace of forgiveness. And that will be a talk given with Cara. And today, actually, we have a special guest coming on from his own very network. And that will be a little bit more in the segment. But in the meantime, I want to meet everyone with grace and love and welcome all the best and understanding. And I'm going to now bring in Lee so that we can have another exciting talk about her book, Unleash Your Light. Good morning from
Good
Canada.
morning. Hello. It's a balmy 60 degrees Fahrenheit here in Virginia. It feels like springtime.
We
Uh,
had
so,
actually we were warm this morning too. Like we've had snow the last week, but
mm,
legitimately I went to get a peppermint latte, tea latte, and I thought, "Oh my God, this is wonderful. I need to go for a walk." But I'm like, I'm on my show today. I can't necessarily just go do that.
you gotta wait a few hours, just a little bit, just a minute. Well, I'm
Yeah.
ready. I'm ready for today's show.
No?
I do a show every year called How Not to Murder Your Family Over the Holidays.
Oh,
So this
lovely.
is like a variation of that. So I'm excited for today.
I love it. I think I already decided like 10, 15 years ago when I just learned to go with the rhythm of the universe and follow what was going on around me. So even as a child, I really appreciated Hanukkah, although I grew up Catholic. But I think talking about God, Christ, or a higher consciousness is a lovely thing. So although sometimes we get caught in the Christmas mess, we definitely could use some grounding at this time.
That's very true. Yeah. It's been an ongoing thing about, do you say Merry Christmas? Do you say Happy Holidays? Is it
Yeah.
okay to worship this? Is it okay to say it this way? No, that's the wrong way to do Christmas. No, that's the right way to do Christmas. That elf is creepy. No, that my family loves that elf. There's a lot of different ways to do Yule, to do Christmas, to do
Yeah.
Kwanzaa, to do, Festivus for the rest of us. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever works for you, works for you. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Festivus thing. I don't know if you do you know what Festivus is.
No, what does Festivus mean?
Festivus is from the television show Seinfeld.
Yeah.
And instead of Christmas every year, one of the characters, his family celebrates Festivus, where they wrestle in the living room and then read out their list of grievances with each other for the year. It's feats of strength and reading out your grievances. And instead of a tree, they have a metal pole that they put in the middle of the room to wrestle over later in the week. So it's like whatever your family thinks is right. And I think when it comes to stepping into it a little bit with other people, just be kind. Just be kind. That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. Just kind.
I think as well, like that kindness and compassion, but like sincerely take care of your body. Okay. So, like this time of the year, we all run the chance of uh minor colds or stress apparitions. I mean, stress could be present anyways, and with this new astrological flex we're going through, we're flexing all our muscles and we're seeing all of our stuff and we're able to see what we really need to let go of and pass and let pass in our lives. And what not a better way to do it is align with our universal pull right to the central core, the central sun, and know that all divine beings are present now. We are in the flux of a fifth dimensional state. We are living with a universal charge. And when we do our dark shadow work, we're enabling ourselves in order to pick up on that light. Just like a friend of mine that I saw yesterday before her healing ceremony that she was going to, she was sitting in the sun, just allowing that light to permeate her being here. I mean, finding ways to de stress is basically a human obligation at this time.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. And also because it is a human obligation that we have neglected and have actually created more stressful environments, have actually created for individuals. And so the thing that we didn't recognize that we're just starting to, like you're saying, your friend went and sat in the sunlight, looked directly at the sun, did that sort of thing. We as humans don't realize how much our thoughts, our emotions, that stress is thoughts and emotions affect our body, and we have a lot of autoimmune diseases that are triggered into flare-ups by stress. We have a lot of different conditions that are worsened by stress, but we also have conditions that are brought on by stress. There are literal like ailments for your body where your
Hmm.
body will stop functioning properly because of the thoughts you're having. Which is huge, because if you can do it in that way, then why can't you do it in the opposite way, right? Which is part of that self-care, that loving your body, being kind to your body. As we're talking about forgiving people, forgive your body, forgive yourself for what you've done to your body. Like our body didn't go out and work 12-hour shifts without our consent. It didn't go, eating Cheetos in the middle of the night without us knowing about it. Like we were there for all
Yeah.
of the stuff that we did, all of the lack of self-care. So it is super important, because even if you're not oh, I'm going to take care of my body kind of a person, like, even if you're not that person, if you know you're going into a situation where you're going to be stressed, you have to recognize that it's going to affect you physically, and you got to take that counteracting something to counter it. Like you said, it's like a duty for us as humans to figure out how to process this stress, how to deal with this stress, and not necessarily for other people, but for the way that our own body works, for that self-care, that ultimate level of self-worship, you know.
Yeah. And I know that like last night in our previous conversation was really cute. I noticed you're enjoying a cocoa there, right? Got a hot cocoa on the go.
It's coffee, but it's
It's
got lots of
coffee.
cocoa in it. Yeah.
I love chocolate, anything, so but,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like, the idea that we take a piece of our work by piece of our work, okay? So, as we're, like, really focused on that piece of the work and that aspect of ourselves, if we are aligning to truly love ourselves, meaning we're okay. So, we must at first, I think, find what's kind of not holding us up inside and realize, like, you know what, that self talk is on me. I might have learned it from, this relationship or that situation or whatever. But at number one, being our own best friend,
Mm-hmm.
holding that light space for ourselves and letting like the light in the room and understanding your capability is precious on this planet. Every single body is precious. Every one of us has the ability to attain to our light, to transmit our light, and to heal from the inside, no matter what's happening, right? And hitting up that really quick remedy of a Tylenol or an Advil or etc. Once you stop it and you start a breathing or you start, you know, uh, good healthy water intake or a walk in the park or you know some form of meditation, you actually offset that nervous reaction
Yeah.
that keeps you in that spiral.
Yeah. 100%. You have to, like, disrupt yourself out of it. I think I've actually said this before on your show. There's a dog guy named Caesar Milan, and he does a television show. He used to do a television show called The Dog Whisperer, and his big passion is working with pit bulls, right? Who tend to have a little bit more of a, they're protective, defensive. They might, come
Naturally.
across as
Yeah.
vicious, right? And so he talks about when you are walking your dog, when you are dealing with your dog, having a recognition of the energy that the dog is carrying. And as soon as you see it start to go in the red, because you will have observed your dog several times, you pay attention to the things that put it into that state of worry, into that state, and then you have to disrupt it. And what he'll do is he like pokes at them, he makes a noise, he has this little like half kick thing that he does, and it startles the dog out of their spiral, out of towards the red. And then they're in the moment again and they're like, oh, that's right, I'm a happy dog, I'm a happy dog. Right? So if we can apply this same level of self-awareness to the stuff in our own minds, to the things that are going on around us, to the people that we're going to be around, to whatever is going on in our life, if we can apply that to us and notice when we go in the red zone and take a break, take a bite, take a smoke, take a toke, take a walk, take a dance break, whatever you need to do while
I
you're
love the dance
with
break
other
idea.
people. Whatever you have to do it because it's for your health. It's not just about getting along with that person. It's not just about not causing a scene. It's not just about standing up for yourself. It's about your physical embodiment of whatever stress you're taking on.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's always, I think, when it comes to like self-development, peaks and valleys, hills and oceans, rivers that flow to oceans. So sometimes you might have just hit the peak of like, where that source is like really flowing back to God. And
Yeah,
that's kind of been my thing lately. Like I had a lot of resistance in allowing myself completely to be experiencing it. Talking about it was one thing, hearing my guides, getting visual aids from my guides now and and knowing that like I am always in that center. So it could be as simple as, you know what, don't pick up the smoke, just have a moment with God. I mean, like
right.
it's right here at our hands. It's right here. Our
Mm,
divinity is not like getting into the car going somewhere necessarily. Our divinity can just be simple as sitting and understanding. But even when you're in that ride, ask your guides to be there with you. Ask yourself to, ask like within yourself to stay within your journey and remain strong and
yeah,
understand that that divine presence is accessible not just because something happens like an occasion. It's
right.
accessible because you're making it happen and you're allowing it to happen.
Yeah, and it's always accessible in any situation that you're in. I think that we have this strange phenomenon where when we feel like we're not good enough or not worthy to ask God for help or light or universe or Gaia or whatever it is, we feel, oh, I should have already learned that. I should have already known that. I shouldn't have to ask for help with this. And it's especially rampant in the spiritual community because we all want to think that we got it. We all want to think that we're doing okay. We don't want to let on that we're not. But even though we do have a very brave community of people talking about shadow work like yourself, talking about the dark things that we have to go through, talking about looking at these spaces,
Mhm.
sometimes that moment of looking at these spaces does need to be broken up with a dance break, does need to be broken up with that moment where you can allow the universe to shine into you, where you can literally access it because it's there inside of us. It's not like we have to go somewhere. You don't have to go to a temple, go to a church, go to a tree, even. You can sit in the middle of your living room and connect with the universe. You can sit on a bus and connect with the universe. You could sit in your car, although pay attention to the road when you connect with the universe, like everybody has the ability to access it at any point. It's just a matter of choosing to let light into that moment rather than holding on.
Yeah, just to breathe that in and allow, like every breath you take is light. Every thought that you're having, I call them fubbles or frubbles, like whatever they are, they're just messages. And if you're not
Mm.
getting the best of messages, then you're not understanding to love yourself. And that's okay for now. But like the deeper you get into, like where I am with my guides now, and I'm lovingly accepting it, it's a conversation you want to have. But I actually got the message that it's not a conversation with your mom and dad. It's not a conversation with your boss. It's not a conversation with the priest you once trusted, like it's a conversation that's completely connected to the divine. And yeah, you're going to have a hard time knowing what to trust. And it's going to look the same as those same relationships that you had here on earth. And at first, it's going to be really uncomfortable. But remember, you're a divine being, you're a divine blessing. You showed up, you're doing your work.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And it takes showing up. I know we're supposed to be talking about forgiving people, but I mean, it takes showing up first. It
Yeah,
takes
the
being willing.
forgiveness is ongoing, like,
Yeah.
legitimately, like,
Hmm.
I think in the Ho'oponopono, like, and when they discuss it, it's like you should be able to do it 5 times a day. You should be able to say, "I'm sorry, I forgive you, I love you." It's thank you. That's what
Hmm.
the experience is. It's a
Yeah.
complex planet made of polar opposites and transactions, right? And constantly in transactions and confirmation of who you are or not. And when you're not and you're withholding yourself, that's a scary place to be.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. That mindfulness in every moment and paying attention to your choices in every moment. I think we talked about it last week or the week before last about that hope. I never say it right either. The I love you, thank you, forgive me, I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
That's you can use that in every moment of the day. You can use that when you're standing in line. You can use that when you're mindlessly on autopilot going over some television show that you watched the night before or the list of things. You can switch over at any point to something that's productive for you, to an I thank you, I love you, I forgive you. I mean, that space of being willing to step into the healing rather than holding on to the grudges, holding on to the worry, the stress, the pain, whatever it is that's keeping you. It is literally showing up and having the willingness to do anything, even a small bit of work that starts the process, that cracks open that door of divine that is always there waiting, like ready for us at any point to go, okay, I need a little bit of help. Gotcha. Like jump into action. I got you, you know?
So a lot of the Eastern thought methods of breathing, and breathing is accessible at all times.
Mm.
They actually are igniting your energy body. So your breath is directly connected to within this vessel. It's like a computer of itself. This body is like a computer itself, right? So it's one that's divine and blessed with its own release mechanisms and buttons that with once you figure out what herbs or what your water sources, your breath sources, and your connection with that, it's actually maintaining your inner balance because you're actually connected to divine light through breath. So it's like you're inhaling the light, and when you're exhaling, it's a dissipation of what's been being transformed within your body. So that actually ignites your brain more, it ignites your ability to see more. And as I'm doing it, because I have the spiritual gift of seeing, I see the energy flow. I can see
Mm,
that there's divine essence around me.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Would it be
Oh,
not, it would very much change things if we could literally see. Good morning, Robin. If we could literally see our thoughts going out in the world to do their work, or the thoughts coming towards
Oh my
us,
god,
you
if we
know?
could see it, I said that in another show too. I was like, what if we had bubbles over our head that
Hmm.
was showing the interconnection of our intentions as they're like popping off of our own antennae, saying, yeah, that's why I connected with you today. But
Yeah.
instead of self-loathing or fearing what I was going to say or how the situation would work out, I just dove in with the divine having my back and knowing that I'm lovingly protected and guided. Something that most of us are not feeling, you know, in this pandemic, right? Like it is difficult to get your senses around hugging another individual or holding hands or even shaking a hand any longer.
Mm-hmm. I uh I guess I was already in that state when the times hit, but I know that it's been really difficult for a lot of people. And part of it is because we have to sit in our own garbage. Hello, Sherry. We have to sit in our own garbage. We didn't have the distractions of the outside world anymore. And even though many of us, not me, but many of us were locked down with a person that we loved, it in many cases that turned out to be the downfall of many relationships that had to go deeper than the level that most
I
people live
experienced
at
that
in
firsthand.
distress. Yeah, because normally, I think you literally said the words last night. If I wanted to do something, I would just get up and go and do it. If I
Mhm.
wanted to did not feel this way, then I would go do something different. But now, because people were stuck in the space that they were in, the physical space, they weren't able to walk away from that. They weren't able to step away from that space, and so they were stuck without having the tools or without accessing the tools to figure out how to communicate with their person or with whomever they were stuck with, family or not.
And then with all the Neptunian, as I was saying, our astrological challenges at this time or our lessons is really noting how we truly feel about being handling ourselves and our relationships on top of the pandemic excursion, right? So, like, what's that something used to feel comfortable? I'm a very extroverted, loving person, but not since the pandemic. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like very like, "What's that? What's this?" Like, it changes the way you perceive other people's human behavior. It changes the way that we interact when we're standing in a lineup, right? It changes the way that, when someone coughs around you, you react now because it didn't matter so much before, right?
It is interesting, but it has affected everyone differently. And some people were very severely affected to the point that now they have like borderline agoraphobia, cannot go out of
Oh,
the house
for
anymore,
sure.
even.
I had it
And then you
beforehand.
have the opposite where people are like, yay, and just running around doing whatever they want to
Oh
do.
god.
So I think a lot of it is our
Uh,
choice. And yes, yes, it's connected into the different traumas that we had. Hi, Cindy, the different traumas that we had, the different things we went through, the ticks that we already had in our brain were
yeah.
compounded
Yeah.
and and revved up by where we were. And for some people that was a period of growth, and for some people that was a period of growth that led them down a dark path into spaces that needed to be healed but were being avoided or not seen, a blind spot in ourselves. I mean, this was a planet wide fear based catalyst that brought on transformation in a million different ways, many that we see, many that we will never see from the human eyeball. And I think that it forced people who were comfortable to make decisions that maybe they were not ready to make. Hi, Eddie, about their jobs, about their relationships, about their life, about what they wanted. And it caused people to look at their lives in a way that they probably would never have done if that event hadn't happened. And it really has, despite all of the losses and sadness and mourning and not just the loss of um, normality as we say, but the loss of life. I mean, I think about the movie Star Wars when the planet Alderaan gets blown up by the Death Star, and Obi-Wan Kenobi like he feels it. It's like 1,000 voices or 1,000,000 voices screamed out all at once, you know? Like we literally had like a public hive mind wounding from all of the deaths in a small amount of time,
Mm.
from all of the changes that we
All the
had to
changes.
make in our normal, right? On top of the work that we were already doing or avoiding, depending on where you were in your journey, right? And
Yeah.
and forced us into this bottleneck, right? The world, the universe, this planet-wide event forced people into a bottleneck, into a
Mm.
space. And you either stop and you block what's happening, right? Or you push your way through the bottleneck and you shoot out the other side at 100 miles an hour, right? When you're trying to push something through a tiny little hole, you
Do you think it
just
might
shove
have
it in
looked
there.
something like this? Kinda like if, it's been feeling like this? I feel
Feels
it
like
kind of
that.
feels like this, like you don't really know where you're landing or you're standing
Oh,
and
yeah.
right?
Oh my gosh,
At
that's too
least these
funny.
2 on the end here, they're holding hands throughout the excursion,
Yes.
right? They got each
Same
other's back.
thing. So funny. So funny.
Yeah. It's like it honestly, like, because the way that they said it, we just gotta laugh on that one. I like to term best as, like, we really are so able to be aware of all of the forces that are in place on the planet.
Hmm.
Now, that's a huge pill to swallow. There's no remedy for what other people karmatically have placed upon Mother Gaia, right? That's their karma. But our light is the destiny of the planet.
Hmm.
God wants us to be in touch with our light, the
Hmm.
light we hold inside of our bodies. And
Right.
that's the
Right.
message. And how can you be in touch with your light if you're literally throwing your hand into the garden, the toilet residue of somebody else's karma?
Right. Yeah. That's so true. It's and the thing that we have to remember is that that person over there is us. And so the karma that they're going through, number one, okay, we might want to help them, we might want to save them, we might want to do for them, but guess what? That is you. So on some level, you are going through that from their side. Right? You are going through that from their side. But also this space that we find ourselves in of this almost karmic cleanup. The light that I give out from this side of reality, from my body in this, can counteract whatever's going on in my other bodies. And that's why we're woken up. That's why we're light workers. Is in the face of darkness, we shine. In the face of anger, we hold space. In the face of pain, we send peace. In the face of violence, we pray for peace, we think joy, we think meditation, we think, happy go lucky thoughts. This is the space of the light worker. And I've been doing shows for years about the current event conundrum. Should light workers watch the news? Way before any of this stuff happened, like since 2017. And the thing that I have said over and over again is that if you turn your back on the fire, it doesn't just go out because you turned your back on it. And I feel like when we don't look at the stuff that upsets us, then we are avoiding our work as light workers. And I say that, of course, knowing that some people have a little bit more problem with that, will have a little bit more issues with that, are not ready for that level of, I don't know, what's the word they use? Transmutation from anger to love, from violence to kindness, from
Mm,
seeing something that
right.
makes you mad to making
Neutrality,
it
even.
peaceful.
They don't
Not
even
everybody's
think,
in a
no,
space to
they're not
do
ready
that
yet.
yet,
No.
but try, because that's how it gets you there. If you can crack the door open on love, if you can crack the door open on that divine, like we were talking about, it's always there. And literally, that moment where you show love to something that makes you mad, where you send healing to something that is, causing you issues, you crack that door open. And that's the work, the inner work. That's the work. Hi, Luke. That's the inner work of us as light workers that affects the world around us without us even seeing it. We don't know how our shift in energy affects everything else.
I just
Oh,
want to
that's
say
a
here,
good one.
Cindy, that is the word of a starseed. Like you're just
Oh,
not, you're just bossing that around. You're saying, you know what, my light matters. And not only, is it just my light, but is the destiny of a planet. Right. So, of course, if there was opposing forces, and I'm not bringing up who the opposing force is in this talk right now, those that would like a more draconian approach to existence, that's what their planetary ideals are. I still embrace that with light and love right here and now too, because you know what, I can understand from a different mindset, and I can pull
yeah,
that into whether or not that's going to be a fear based mindset or if it's going to be a love based mindset. And that's going to set the tone for all my vibrational energy for my day, how I approach my work issues, how I approach my partnership, how I approach anybody, right? So, really firming up with how we approach even our enemies. Love is for us all. Love
yeah,
is meant to be shared in all correct boundaries and all observances of love and light. It's not like unwhole. It's absolutely complete, and more complete when you're breathing it into your vessel, and more complete when you're taking that time, that moment, that 5 seconds between whether or not you're going to react in anger or you're going to find it within your vessel and your mind and in your patience just to love again.
yeah. That's one of the steps. Ignore your feelings. You know, are you going to react in that split second to that, that energy that's coming in, that's tapping into your trauma, your pain, your suffering, all the things, all the places that we hide that stuff in ourselves? It's really fascinating.
Yeah, she did. How did you end up going sideways? You were like this. Like,
I got a text. I have so much going on, y'all. I got a text message that I had to respond to, like a timely kind of a thing. For those of you who don't know, my house is sold. Well, the house I've been living
yeah.
in is sold. So there's a lot of like, schedule this inspection, schedule that inspection. Did this happen? Did that happen? And like, if you're not like that, then you miss it. So there are some things I have to do ahead of this stuff. Unfortunately, someday I won't have to though. Someday this will take precedence. All right,
Yeah,
Luke,
like, yeah.
what advice do you have for breakups from ones who don't serve us anymore and bring us down? I'm the one who had to break up, but I still have a hard time letting go. That's a really tough space to be in. And I know that many of us have experienced this where you see that somebody is not serving you and you have to move on, even though you love them deeply. And I relate to this personally. Like, honestly, I was in a loop of pain with my son's father for 20 something years that, I would have stayed in. Honestly, even through my awakening stuff, it would have been a minute. Like, I would have forgiven him for stepping out over and over and over. And I did. And I would have done it probably forever. I mean, and so I get that. Like, I totally get that energy that you're when you're still feeling it in love. Okay. But here's what I would like you to do. Here's my practical advice. Y'all know I'm always about practical advice. When you are having that, oh, but I love them. Oh, but I miss them. Replace yourself with them in your mind. So it's not them that you miss, it's how you felt with them. But that feeling is not unique because the feeling is inside of you. So if you can replace that loving feeling, or if you can transfer that loving feeling to yourself every time that pops up into your head, to think about the person that you had to leave, just switch it every time. What I did was I actually created fake photographs of a celebrity sitting on the couch in the spot where my ex would sit. And so then I would look at them all the time just to get it out of my head, just to get it out of my space, just so I would see something different. I just, at every point, loved myself and set them free, you know? It's a
So,
difficult.
yeah, and then it was in love that you had the contract. It remember, like it might have
Mm,
appeared to be like a bunch of earthly junk, things that you look at now and go like, why did I even bother? Why did I bother get into that, right? But in respects of yourself, you did learn from the lesson and you played a role for each other in that time. You played
yeah,
a role
yeah,
of,
because you were in a partnership.
yep. And so you might have had something that seemingly felt a little comfortable, you know, in the storm of your life, which is the fun part. So when we avoid the storm and we don't face ourselves, we don't get to see those unique qualities and the beauty we hold and the power we have in our life, right? We're
Yeah.
hiding a relationship. So relationship can be like a shady deal for sure.
Oh, yeah. And we have to look at what the habits are in the relationship that are familiar to us, right? So maybe that person, I don't know, makes eggs the same way that your grandmother did, or maybe the way
Yeah.
that they wake up in the morning fits into a particular thing, you know, like you have to look for those spaces where you're going to miss them and disrupt it. Like the Caesar Milan thing. So okay, don't make eggs. You know what I'm saying? Like don't walk down the hallway in that particular way. When you find yourself falling
Hey.
into the patterns where you miss them, jet out. Okay, let's see. I went back because I thought I missed it, but then thought about living there again. It reminded me I made the right choice to leave. Yes, good for you.
So we have a guest on our show today, and this lovely, beautiful, kind, spiritually, just absolutely magnificent individual. Francesco's here from his network as well. Be kind, be loving, be spiritual. He gives daily readings online, and I am so excited and enthusiastic right now just to bring him in. So we have a guest for you all, and here he is.
Hi guys, how are you doing?
Oh,
Sorry I'm late.
yay! It's okay. I think I forgot to disclose to you that I'm Eastern time, so I'm so
It's okay.
sorry.
We've been trying to get this, and here we are. How's everyone doing this morning?
God, we got lots of people in our audience right now. They're like brimming with thoughts and ideas about their growth and development.
Hmm.
Today's focus is forgiveness from Unleash Your Light. So that would be Lee Cara's book that she had her divine channel open
Amazing.
up and she created. And I myself am an intuitive, and I've been working really a lot with. You can see my painting here. I think you can see maybe a little better if I go like this
Hmm.
uh, to show you
Nice.
guys,
Yeah.
right?
There we go.
That so that comes on my channel too, and my channel has been opening up more because I've been getting direct pictures of just like absolute pictures of stuff to eat, to not eat.
Hmm.
Um, I've had some ET visitations, but then I've had some angelic visitations, and I'm like adamantly, working out my soul's identity, and I love it.
That's awesome. That's awesome, right? Right. It's all about channeling your stuff, right?
Yeah,
Channeling things, whatever we're getting. Things are getting kind of very they're kind of narrowing down. It's like there's only so many options we could choose from now. I feel like that's why I like to use the mandala as an example. It's like
yeah,
this is a lot of people, but then that's gonna be us, just one. So it's all coming to like a
yeah.
little vacuum, you see.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's exciting.
And
Yeah,
they
like the
all
wheel of our life, you spin it and then you make the neck and you spin it and you spin it and you spin it. We're coming to the edges where the choices are not, there's not as many choices because we are more focused and the universe is like, "It's time to work, time to do your thing
Absolutely.
for yourself, not necessarily, like for yourself. It's time to make that shift because that's what changes the planet. That's what changes the
Mm,
world. That's what shifts the energy is that focused on self, focused on
right.
change, focus on love,
I love how
on
she's in the
integrating.
middle and like we're both on the either side of her and she's like, focus on change,
I know
focus
we're like
on love. I got the
right.
vibe.
We're on the side there, right? No, I absolutely I agree with that, right? It's like we learned the lesson, so now what we're gonna go do again another excursion. Well, I think we've had enough of the loops, right? And it's like
Yeah,
now at some point we know the answers, but people can't believe that you can know. They can't believe that you can know and you can really know because they don't claim the knowledge and they feel that doing so is like arrogant or how dare you. And that's the
Yeah.
shadows hijacking your light, really. At the end, it's
Yeah.
like, yes, ultimate reality is very simple within the local experience, which is here, me and you, right? We don't have to
Mhm.
know about other dimensions or other things. Let's just focus on here. And it's very simple because it's the same truth, the truth. And then people have the variation to their truth. And their truth is those journeys, is those beliefs, is the programming, right? And here we are trying to just, yeah, we're all one and we all have different perspective. But if they want the truth, keeps you in balance. The truth keeps you happy. When you hear the truth, it sets you free. When you hear the truth, you know that you've healed and you've accepted something. And then you realize. And that truth we all share, and it's
Yeah.
just about just holding the same pole from a different angle, basically, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because Luke had said as well, and I guess there was judgment on myself for allowing things to get to where they got, but I will start focusing on myself and loving me more. And that is one magnificent step forward. Um, I also like what Robin had said about gentle and soft, because a lot of times some of these energies we've collected from trauma based experiences or relationships that were destructive or addiction, they leave such a strong resonance of that darkness, of that feeling, right? And how do we get rid of it? Like the fight and the battle, I call in the divine. I just allow it. And like I was speaking earlier about the breathing, because the breathing is the direct connection to the light within you too. And the breathing allows that constant flow, kind of like a waterfall, but through the body, right? So, and more self-acceptance and love and that soft, gentle way where you see yourself not like, it's not as for the relationship, it's not as for the world, it's for God. It's a conscious state of awareness of complete unity. There's no separation between you and the divine. It's just in the mind, right? So, and we
It's
use
the physical
Fred
body.
sometimes, like Lee Cara, she'll say it could be Fred for you, it could be Mother Gaia
Source,
for you,
God,
Call
Gaia,
it
call
whatever
it
you like,
Fred. It
right?
doesn't make a difference. As long as you're speaking, it doesn't care what you call it, like it's just that
Right. Have a
space.
relationship with it. I call it it.
It,
It
yeah,
it watches you. It's
that's
aware.
right. It's always with you. It follows, right? It's always
It,
with
it
you.
it's there. It's there. I promise
Yeah.
it's
And
there.
what you said about accepting our own divinity is so important because you said that people think that it's arrogant to own that divine truth, that they have a piece of God or that they are the physical
Oh, oh
expression
my
of God.
God. Yeah,
And
that's the yeah.
people don't want to own that. And that's that space where we feel like we lack worth or we feel like, how dare you? Now, I was a teenager in the 80s. The worst thing you could say to someone was, she thinks she's pretty. She thinks look at her.
Mhm.
She's so conceited. She's so stuck up. If you claimed your talent, if you claimed your worth, then you were immediately shunned and shamed. And we may not do that in all things because we are all, selfie royalty
Right.
nowadays. But
Right.
we need to do that for our divine connection, not just our photographic connection. You know what I'm saying? Like you can Halle Berry all day, but you gotta own that space where
Right.
you are divine. I love that.
Right.
I
Right. And we
designed
gotta
a
embody that. Right.
yeah, yeah.
We
I
gotta
was just
embody
gonna
that,
say
and
because
it's okay.
I had designed spiritual backpacking. I was taking another course. I always take the shamanistic courses and stuff like that throughout COVID. And I thought spiritual backpacking was fun because in the times when I was in my attic self, I knew how to put a backpack on, get everything ready to get my experience together. I knew what I needed for that opportunity. I knew how to get in and out of the high, right? So, like, when I came down from the high and I realized spirituality was so much better for me, I'm like, wow, like, what could I put in my backpack for my spiritual self and carry that around instead?
Mm,
Right. Right. It's choosing right, and that's the thing. The thing is that, for example, religion has hijacked the Christ, office of the Christ, and they say you are not the Christ, we're the Christ. So how the people in church and all the religion and all these things, they are very divine and they embody because they're the ones, right? But not us. No, us too. us too. We are the office of the Christ, and we have authority also. So this is all like coming to an end with these people, and we're claiming our power back for misqualified energies. Misqualified because we gave them power to have authority over our souls, these religion
Hmm.
people. So
Hmm.
claim your power back and exercise the authority of the office of the Christ that resides within your heart.
Yeah.
See what I mean?
Oh, I think
100.
that's a lovely prayer. That was
Mhm.
like, it said it all. Like,
Yeah.
how many times growing up did I sit in the pew at church and wonder, I could feel the Holy Spirit. I could understand. I saw spirit since I was 8, you know, and I walked out of the church going, "Whoa, that church full of that. Wow, that church has that." Then I walked into another church till I became a Buddhist when I was 16 and said, "Oh, these people, they don't seem to have a problem with me sitting here and they're like really super sweet and they don't, they just want everyone to be happy and the energy shifts, right? Like the energy shifts. And then you go to another, went to Hindu. Wow, that's an interesting. I went to them all. So, like
Right.
for me, it was unity, and it is unity within the understanding, cultural understanding.
Yeah,
There's no
that's cultural,
separation.
exactly. Right. And a lot of that, Hindu, Buddhism in the East, in the East, right, Far East, it's all culture, right? So you go to India, and people in India don't have mirrors, they don't have clocks. So they're like some people are like, oh, the West is just program, right? And the East is more the original template. Yes, they have their own distortions of wars and separations, which we're still clearing, and we're just gonna remove those things. But
Oh,
it's the West that's so dense, right?
mm. I love that.
Mhm.
I really love
Cultural
that.
differences. Mhm.
Yeah, because we have another thought here.
I'm a reflection of divine when I look at myself in the mirror to find and feel the worthiness. That sounds great. Whatever works for you, Luke. I
Right.
think that's wonderful because it's baby steps. Like you can't expect to love yourself in a day. You can't expect to change 30 years of horrible self talk, 40 years of horrible self talk. You can't think like it took 40 years to destroy your body, destroy your mind, destroy your heart, destroy your soul. It took however many years it took to get you here. It's going to take a minute to get you out of it. And so, baby steps. There's like a little meme or a little picture that has this tiny baby like walking through the desert, and it seems like it's taking the itty bittiest little steps, but when you look, it has gone so far. So, in our moment, we
Beautiful.
can't see how huge we're doing. I literally just saw TikTok on this the other day with a woman who's doing both parts, and she's seeing one of her guides, and the guide is like, okay, yes, we have you scheduled for extreme shadow work, blah, 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 blah. And the woman is crying, no, make it stop, make it stop. We're good. We're
Uh,
giving you your review right now. You have many more years of this. She's like, no, it's been 30 years. Take me out. Take me out. I can't do it. No, no, no. You have a few more years. It's fine. Here's what we have to say. You're doing amazing. You're right on schedule. No, please. You're right on schedule. It's wonderful. You are doing such good work. Keep it up. In fact,
mhm.
we're going to level up your empathy and turn up your intuition so you can really dig into it. All right, we'll talk to you in another
Yeah,
10
good.
years. Thanks.
I
You know,
love
like
that. Right. Let's turn your empathy up more. Like, feel more. I like that. Very good.
right. It's like,
That's awesome.
there's no sympathy for that. But that's what we're doing. We're in this space of it feels terrible, but it's really good work that we're doing. And we're going so much further than what we think we are. And when we are confused about what to do next, love yourself. Love the person next to you.
Exactly.
See the
And that's
beauty in the
always the
moment that
ticket
you're
to
in.
heaven. That's always the that saves you whenever you're found, whenever that belief or that disappointment or that betrayal, that's when you need to go love yourself more. And that,
Mhm.
so people have a cup and it's like, love me, put some love in my cup, or can I give you some of my love? Here you go. No, fill your own cup with love, fill your own cup.
That's
And
right.
people need to understand we need to love ourselves more, and you can have more love for you. We don't do
Mhm.
enough. It's enough, but it's not enough. And we say that, and our parents used to say that self-esteem, right? Oh, you're not good enough. Well, not good enough for their presentation of what life is, but we're
Yeah.
good enough for what we are, but we need to then love ourselves more. And that means really taking more time for yourself, getting to know yourself, and not going outside of yourself to find yourself. And really, taking time. Some people run. I used to run to bed, and I used to I used to go to bed and I used to go pass out, right? But now it's like, no, I like to light a candle. I like to close my curtains. It's like a process to go to bed. It takes me an hour to go to bed, brush
Yeah.
my teeth, take a salt bath, and that's all love. But people just want to eat a pizza. They want to have alcohol, drugs, because they can't go to sleep with the minds that they have. And
Mm,
that's food coma, drug abuse, and that makes you pass out literally
Yeah.
or just
Just
forget about it, because that's a form of meditation. When you're going to sleep, you got to be with your thoughts, right? So it's like that's when you draw the
mm,
numbers, like how much everything equals to, and then you have the feelings, right?
yeah.
we
I'm
have to
feeling that,
just
Francesco. I love it.
we have to accept that, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's
accept
the
the
issue.
fact that maybe with a little bit of scheduling and reflection, that by taking that time to acquire the energy of sacred space,
Mm,
because in the Hopono tradition, which I'm studying right now, is the first thing in the first class that the shaman sits by, doesn't say anything, right? 14,000 years this man's culture has existed, Hawaiian culture.
mhm.
And he just sits there and says nothing. And the whole class goes, well, why isn't the teacher saying anything? And the guy that's representing in the thoughts says, because he has to clean. And everyone's like, why does he have to clean? What do you mean? Like, this room's clean and I'm clean and, let's get going.
Mm,
He's like, no, actually, you brought a lot of stuff here in this room. And this is a sacred room. The man who made it, he made it for us so that we could be here. This room is now considered sacred. Oh, what does that mean?
I love
Right?
that, right? And that makes you think, right? Let's have a look at your aura. What is your aura going to do to my house in 3 days? Right?
Oh yeah.
Right? It's that
It's
kind of
true.
feeling.
I'm real careful about who comes inside of my house. You know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
learned that
and it's
lesson.
not because I don't trust other people, not because I don't like other people, but shit lingers. You know what I'm saying?
It
Somebody
lingers.
walks through your house. I had people in the house because we're selling, and it lingers. Like after people, especially if you're sensitive, after someone leaves, you still feel them wandering around. Hi, you still feel them wandering around. You still feel. I still see. It's been 3 weeks since people were in my house, and I can still have pictures of people who don't belong here in my space. And I refill the
I
space
feel it.
with
I
love. I
feel it.
refill it with light. You know what I'm saying? But it definitely shifts. And you have to constantly be
You
resetting
have
your
to.
own center, your own space of love, your own connection with divine, and knowing what it feels like. Because you and I have discussed this, Nicole. So many people don't know what it feels like to connect with divine,
Right.
even for a moment. And the way that I had described it was when you see a puppy, when you see something cute, when you see
Oh,
something in that moment, you forget everything else. You might only have a second of that that awe, that AWE awe inspiring, like
Yeah.
cuteness or beautiful or
So we've
whatever.
got a
And
whole
that
bunch of people,
stays.
guys, here that are like really looking to get some insight into their next step on their journey. So Lynn wanted she was up first for a reading, and then Luke
you
and
who you want me to do it first, or you guys want to go? I mean, I
you
could
could
start, and
go.
then you guys
No,
we
you
could
could
go
go
after.
right
Okay.
ahead. Yeah, yeah.
You're the
Lynn
guest.
Haas,
You
how are
get
you,
to lead
sweetie?
first.
All right, I love you guys. Lynn, how are you, sweetie? All right, let's have a look what's going on with you. So first thing, intuitive, they're telling me move your energy more. So the thing we like to do, stay sedentary. What stays sedentary does not stay in motion. What does not stay in motion does not stay in balance. What does not stay in balance doesn't have harmony. What doesn't have harmony doesn't have happiness, right? So it's like a whole process, right? So right now we're showing up. We're doing work here. So Spirit is saying right now, let's continue doing the things that bring you joy. Let's continue doing those things. And then we say, oh, but I'm bored. What else? Well, let's have gratitude because we ask for protection too. And there's a crazy world outside. So if we're at home and we're having cabin fever, let's be grateful that I'm safe rather than out there taking chances because we ask for so much protection. And this is what it looks like sometimes being home all day and just being in your sacred space and not going outside. So we have to have gratitude for the protection we're being given rather than, oh my God, I'm born to do something. Yes and no, both, right? So I feel like you got this card, joy. Keep doing your little things, the knickknacks, the paintings, the twisting of the wires, the rocks, anything. And the sun is here. Just be happy, right? Lynn, much love to you, sweetie. Doing great. Just continue moving on. Fulfill ourselves is the goal, right?
Yes. And sacred space, which I am going to be doing my class on. So I feel a calling to do the spiritual backpacking class. Anybody who wants to
That's
sign up,
awesome.
I'm going to just offer it. It could be by donation. Doesn't even matter. Just let's get going on it.
Right. I love that.
Okay, so I guess Lee will pass it on to Mr. Sam Page. He would be interested. And so it is.
Fine. Well, I'll grab you a rune, Sam. And again, you don't have to ask, you don't have to put your question in there. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to tell me what it is. It is between you and the universe. If you want to ask something specific, you are certainly welcome to do that. It's none of my business what you're talking to the universe about. Okay, so we have the blank rune. Blank is the beginning, blank is the end. It's the omega and the alpha. It is that space in us where we terminate and beginnings and begin endings. It's where we end beginnings and we move through space into something brand new. And so this really speaks about, I always like to read the book. I've had this again since like 1993, and it speaks
I love
about
it.
relinquishing control. It's the ultimate challenge for the spiritual warrior whose battle is always with oneself. So in this space of the blankness, you have every bit of potential to grow into something amazing, and you have every bit of potential to have a disaster, because that's how the universe is. There is every bit of creation and destruction in every moment of our day. And you are literally on the precipice of that, Sam. And what I would say to you is that focusing on what you're focusing on, paying attention to where your thoughts are going. Oh, that one flew. Paying attention to where your thoughts are going. Look at this, the tower. Okay, I'm
Oh,
just literally talking about the destruction. I'm literally talking about the destruction,
is
the
that
tower.
awful? But it's nice
Yeah,
too.
it's wonderful. It's like the worst catastrophe
Both.
that helps us the most, right?
Oh my
And you
God, you
also
guys.
got, jumping out of this Nine of Wands. For me, Nine of Wands is about taking down the defenses that we put up to save us, but don't
Mm.
actually help us anymore. Because just like we grow out of relationships, just like we grow out of phases of our development, we can grow out of those self-defense mechanisms that we may not need anymore. I don't need you to jump up and bite someone's head off because they looked at me sideways anymore. Thanks. I appreciate the sassiness, but I don't need that in my life anymore. I don't need to, eat a whole pizza when I sit down anymore, because I am okay with looking feminine. I'm okay with looking beautiful. Like, you are in that space of creation, Sam, where what you choose literally determines what comes next. What we did yesterday got us here. What we do today gets us to the next space. And that is literally where you are right now, Sam. It's incredibly exciting and terrifying all in the same space. So I wish you a lot of, uh, I wish you a space of recognition of yourself and where you need to go. That's what I hope for you.
I love
Okay,
that when you
so
said that, right?
I
Take
was
take the
like,
defenses down. That resonates with me now. So you have a message for
Oh,
me then.
I
Especially
was
me,
growing. If you notice
me.
my painting, now that I've got the painting in my picture, I was growing like my antennae. Do you see my antennae? So this huge antennae. I
you
became
both have
I
kind of like
became the tree
fans
of life.
behind you.
I literally embodied the whole tree of life, which is actually my greatest study, 20 years in. I'll
Mm-hmm.
never turn down the Kabbalah ever. So Luke is also saying I'm always down for a reading. Okay.
All right, look.
So we'll
You
just
want to
go.
go or you want me to do it?
You
No, we'll
go
go
for
back
it.
on back. Yeah.
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 So I go?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay, look, how are you, brother? Look, you're doing great. Getting immediately solar plexus. You've been working on your solar plexus a lot. Willpower to say no, and willpower to kind of be authentic, right? So people don't have a willpower issue, they have an authenticity issue, and you've been working on your authentic self, and that willpower serves you. It doesn't serve the distortion, right? So the world is yours here right now. You can do whatever you want, right? and you want a battle. So this is surrender, but you want a battle. You want you beat that shadow of compulsive choices based on emotions, right? Trying to fulfill a void, and you've done that, and that brings balance now. That brings balance for you fully. So allow, because this is fresh with you, it just happened. It's almost like you found a gift, and now you got to know what it means. So allow it to unfold, and have faith and no fear in the choices you're making, so that, because that guides you. What happens is that we think we're not doing enough today, and that we do three things one day when we should be doing one, and then next one the next day, and the other one the next day, and that throws us off balance already when we're doing three things, because we have guilt for not doing enough in the past, and we think if we do it more today, that overcompensates for what I haven't done, right? So balance means trusting that I've done enough today. Much love to you.
I love that. And I pulled the rune of transformation, the Degas, in that space. So that's literally backing up exactly what you were saying about knowing that you're in this change, but protected, knowing that while you may be looking for that victory in the fight, in the struggle with yourself, but still holding on to that space of change, that space of knowing that you are enough. I love that. Such a beautiful
Oh,
message, Luke.
and you are not
Oh,
alone.
You are not alone. That's
You're
first
not
step in
alone.
Unleash Your Light.
I love it.
Yeah, all the extraterrestrials you want are accessible. Just depends on what vibration you're on.
Right, exactly. I love that. Not sure if I can see this. If you could see, if you can see this. If so, you feel like it would enjoy a message. Sure, Cindy. Okay, so you want to go later? I will go now.
Yeah, Lee, if you want to jump in.
And then I'll
Sure.
piggyback on you. I'll piggyback on your
Okay.
message. There
Yes,
we go.
please. Yes, please. Jump on. Jump on. Okay. So Cindy, you got Tewaz. And I actually think this was the same rune that you got the last time that I pulled for you, was this spiritual warrior. And the battle is always with yourself. The Tewaz is basically the story of self-conquering, self-challenge, self-growth. That battle with self is not necessarily a fight. There are some who believe that something is only worth having if I fought for it. Something is only worth doing if it was hard to get to, right? We teach people, oh, if it's easy, then it's not worth getting. I don't quite agree with that, because simple simple and easy don't always go together. You know what I'm saying? So like, it is simple to say sit in your own space. It is not easy, though, to sit in your own space. That warrior is really about being willing to sit in your own stuff and face it and recognize those spaces in you that still need that. And the other thing that it says here that is like flashing at me, the reward of patience is patience. The reward of what you are doing is what you are doing. There is the award is not awakening. Oh, I'm going to see rainbows, and it's gonna the mothership is gonna beam me up. I mean, maybe that'll happen, but don't expect it. You know what I'm
Or
saying?
we
Like,
win
the
a million
reward,
dollars, right?
right? The reward of the work we do is not to get something. It is every day. It is the changes that happen as we make these shifts, as we make these awareness, these perception changes in us. And it's every moment of every day. There's not like a here's your jackpot because you did such good work. It comes moment by
Right.
moment by moment, the jackpots. So that's what I would pay attention to, is those moment to moment jackpots.
Cindy, you got the hermit, so you know, and we do know. We just don't like the answer, and we keep shuffling the cards, and that happens, right? Me too. So we know, you know. So now we know
Mhm.
the answers, because we've been hearing it for a long time, and it's time to give yourself and others that truth, and that it helps grow. So it's kind of like what she was talking about, right? It doesn't have to be hard. It's very simple, actually. It's just that we're dealing with the disappointment and the betrayal. The disappointment, the betrayal. We feel betrayed by people because I believe something. We know the drill, right? So right? We do this for our soul, right? And then this like, where's my $1 million? Where's all my where's my nice car? Where's the bigger thing? Yeah, you can have those things, but they have nothing to do with your soul. Your soul don't know difference between Mercedes or a Honda Civic. It knows that you're experiencing something moving.
That's right.
So it
That
don't
is
matter
so true.
labels.
It's kind of funny because, like, just back on an East meets West talk, because we really touched on that today. And Francesco, you brought a lot of light into the situation when we spoke about it. But having a lot of Middle Eastern and Eastern spiritual experiences, and then seeing how the West reacts to things, I always walk away from my Middle Eastern friends or Eastern friends, and I always wonder, why do Western people fight over all this, like, incidental, like, not, even, I don't know, worthy of you kind of stuff. Like, it's so easy to trip over here.
Mhm.
Right,
And,
I think
getting
it's
into
because
that
of the
car,
way
whether
that
it's a car,
religion evolved.
what if it was just all point A to B cars? You got into it and you went and you got there. And sometimes you owned it collectively and sometimes you owned it separately, but it still didn't hurt the planet. What about that? Like, what
right,
about not using gas? What about that? Right?
right,
And fueling
right.
those industries, those corporate industries.
That's a long walk backwards to get back onto a different road for fossil fuels over to electrical fuels. I think
Right,
one of
that
the
would right.
big,
Go ahead. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
No,
yeah,
go
I think
ahead,
one of the
Francesco.
big,
Yeah,
yeah, please go ahead.
yeah.
Okay,
What?
so one of the West, I think the West, there's a lot of the West is about technology, the East. So what are we doing here? We're moving from a logistic consciousness to a Buddhistic mind, the
Yeah.
Buddhistic mind. So Lord Maitreya will be kind of like the next Christ, which is a Buddhistic consciousness of the West. The East is more the East is logic. It's logical, it's touch, feel, understand, understand, overstand. But we're moving into the Buddha mind, which is spiritual and is all intuitive. There's no need for logic so much, but logic too, because it brought us to the Buddhistic consciousness. So I think that kind of adds up to your with the fossil fuels. Why do we need to do these things? Well, technology, so logic is touch and feel versus Buddhistic. I use my hands and magnets to move things around, right? So
Mm.
just a little there, a little food.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like, and this is like a love in a community. I mean, like in the last 2 years, like on September 17th, when in Canada they decided on vaccination passport, I quit my job.
Yeah,
Done.
yeah. Good for you. We
Right.
have to. We have to.
And I sat there because I was so, I can't say that to myself. I fed into the plan
Mhm.
and I had to wake up. And then I looked over at my brothers and sisters, knowing like I led a street life and I'm no longer on the streets and stuff. And I look back and I was like, these people are so not protected. I started getting upset at every cause. And, like being upset over everything is definitely not comfortable. It's not chic and it is not easy to maintain the mascara, right? So, like, you're like, holy, I'm crying all the time, right?
Mhm.
But every time that I now go out to my marketplace to buy my organic food, or I choose where I'm going to put my money, or I take that walk instead, I actually recenter, reconnect, and understand my physical, spiritual. This is a computer, actually. What I am is a computer, and the divine is placed inside of me transitions of change. And I can speak of that openly because I see it, feel it, and touch it. I couldn't speak of it when I was under the illusion. So it was
Right.
kind of good to go through um, the crap and to
It's like you're
decide.
it's like your rock bottom. It's like my homeless. When I was homeless, you see, I was homeless in New York. I lost everything, drugs, alcohol. My mom is like, "Oh, let's buy you an apartment in Boston. Come with us." I'm like, "No, mom, I need to go homeless. I need to know what's going on here. Thank you,
Oh,
but no thank you." So that was and that was the hero's journey, right? And
mm,
some people are stuck on the grid, and some people lost everything for this very moment. That's gonna everyone's gonna lose everything again, but at a
Yeah.
bigger level.
Yeah.
Girls,
so
I
I
do
think,
have to go. I
oh,
do
okay.
have to go. I'm so sorry. I thank you very much. I will be back. Thank you for having me. And I love you all so much. Any last words? Sorry.
No,
It
I
was so
just like
nice to
really
meet you.
enjoyed you, and I hope you'll come back and take part in some of our groups or come in and give your divine interpretation. It's been great having you on the show. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Namaste to everyone. Much love. See you guys
Yes.
later. Bye now.
Wow, that was just absolutely wonderful.
He's nice. It's always nice to connect with people who have a different and yet similar perspective where the conversation is enlightening like ours. Like you get a new perspective every time that I'm on the show with you guys, every time that I'm chatting with you just on the couch and midnight. I always get a new perspective. I always get learn something new, and I'm always able to add it into my toolbox, add it into my my space of pretty things. Is it like a mockingbird or a raven that likes shiny things, and they'll come and pick up like little shiny things and put it in their nest? That's how I feel about my spiritual tools. They're like little shiny tools that I can put into my nest. Oh, this is what I learned from Francisco. This is what I
Yeah.
learned from Nicole. This is the moment.
Yeah, we have a full life of energy. I'll be right back with
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. It's so fascinating. This whole experience of awakening in this very moment has been so incredibly fascinating. And it's interesting to see the dynamics. We haven't hardly talked about forgiving anyone at all, but that's okay because this is a way better conversation. Um, it's interesting to see the dynamics of what people choose to focus on and how it
Yeah.
plays out in the world.
And
It's
seeing,
fascinating.
and seeing that the exact correlation of time and space dimension is within us all, in the sense that you can be fully in a reading, he can be fully in a reading, and the absolute interconnectedness between both readings, it just blows my mind. That is
Yeah,
just, if that is not God conscious and completely alert to all, like, the yin and the yang, and the ins and the outs, and you know what, yes, it is going to hurt, and yes, you
yeah,
are going to go through things, and it's
yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
So I decided that I pull the Work for Light Oracle card by Rebecca Campbell, and I just want to get a reading for the collective, for everybody today, just to say, like, what is it going on in here for us? What is the real message? Like, maybe is it to, you know, get the answer to look within? Is it the answer to adapt to a new vibrational frequency that's being offered, that maybe your habits aren't allowing you to transform? You know, some of our habits, they keep us from experiencing our full light, but in divine timing, it's all right. It's all right.
Yes, 100%. And I'm glad that you brought up time while you're pulling your card. If I'm going to give you one piece of advice for forgiveness in the why category, okay? Because that space of forgiveness for something that happened in your past can be right now, because all time happens all the time. And this is why you need to work on this stuff. This is why healing stuff in the past helps you in the present, because all time is happening all the time, layered on top of each other. And so when you heal this thing that's way at the bottom, everything above it starts to change. All the other experiences shift a little bit. And where you are now shifts a little bit, depending on how far back you go
Wow.
in your time.
Wow.
What did you get? What did you get? Tell me, tell me. Because I pulled two runes and I'm a little blown away as well. So,
Yeah. So it's Lumeria. So it's
mm,
basically creating heaven on earth. And we are, I said I wanted the question cards because these cards do both. And so it was like, if you knew you would be supported, what would you do? And that's what we're here for on this show. And that's what we're here for with our audience, is we want to develop, so we understand what the needs are, so that we can come together with all these unique energies and frequencies as each vessel is clearing, so that they can have a space for their voice, their creativity, their wonderment, their imagination, and their ability to be able to see the divine force. It's there, and it's going to be woken up. um, Birthing new creations and dreaming a new world into being.
that's nuts. That's nuts. This is Ingus. It's the rune of fertility. and birthing new beginnings.
Right? Like, it
It's
just
so
like
funny.
this when I got the Lumeria card, I don't know if you can see,
It's beautiful.
right? It's
Hmm.
precious.
Hmm.
So we are precious, we are divine, we are the light. And all of the density and all of the lessons are necessary in order for you to step in, but no one can make you do the stepping in. You have to take
That's
that
right.
right foot forward, watch your thoughts, watch your breath, watch the things going on around you, and then realize your happiness because that giggle and that inner smile, that glow, it's yours to own, no one else's.
Yep, that's right.
Whether your
You wherever
mascara
you
is
go, there
running
you
or
are.
not, you
Wherever you
know?
go, there you are.
Yep.
And you take yourself with you everywhere you go. So you might as well like yourself. You might as well enjoy your own company. You might as well figure out how to get along with yourself. You might as well figure out how to embrace yourself, how to love yourself. That space of self-love is everything. And it shifts everything in our life. And
And for anybody
that
out there
easy.
that really like feels like or cannot see that there's a struggle, but they know it, and that's okay, it's just pursue it an hour a day. Take that extra bit of time and
Do it a
figure
minute
out.
a day if you can. Like do it
Yep.
for two, like whatever you can do makes a difference. Any changes or healing or loving of yourself that you can do, it makes a difference. I used to do this challenge. I think I talked about it for 3 minutes. Don't say anything mean to yourself. Don't be condescending. Don't be sarcastic. Just about your day, not a focused, I'm going to think good thoughts for 3 minutes. No, just out in your day, go, oh, all right, let me set a 3 minute timer and see if you can go through the whole 3 minutes without being mean to yourself, without thinking something judgmental towards yourself or even towards others, and see where your mindset really is. Pay attention to what you're thinking about because that changes the future. That changes what comes next. What you did yesterday got you here. What you do today gets you there. And we are all living in a blank rune moment where what we are choosing and how we are choosing to move through our life makes a difference. It's not the details, it's the heart, it's the emotion, it's the love, it's the connection to divine and choosing to see others through the eyes of divine in every moment in our daily life, as much as we can, at least.
Yeah, and I was unloading old paintings of mine that I kept experimental stuff that I would never show anybody. And when you said that blank egg, I just thought about blank canvases because even though there's a bunch of stuff all over these canvases that were experimental and what they are sitting in a box, there's still I can put whatever I want on top of those still. There's no
Mm-hmm.
limit to how you can exercise whatever you want creatively. Now, co-creatively instead of codependently, right? So you are initializing the contact and you are in your bravery and you are using your toolkit, your toolboxes, and you are in the wonderment of that next step, that next level, that next vibrational kick in. And yeah, okay, there might be something clogged in your ventilation. There might be something clogged within you, but once it's released, the patterning, especially in December in the astrology, it's showing it's going to be a miracle of a release. Once it's released, the density is not a matter. Just remember that in your heart is what matters, not your
Yeah.
mind. It's in your
Yes.
heart.
It's in your heart. I love that.
All right. Well, this show has been absolutely magnificent. I love having guests. I thought that was such a great idea. If anybody out there who is watching has any desire to take a class, just let us know. You can let us know through unleashyourlight.org, or you can get in touch with me, Designing Artist. Um, and Sam is saying, thank you so much. This has been beautiful. I love it. And I love you guys. So,
I am so grateful. This was a great hour and a half, and I appreciate you very much, darling. I do. And I'm going to say the thing I always say, which is you are beloved, you matter, and you are so very loved.
yes, it is. It's like, uh, you know, without it, without us and our interconnections. Oh, but we have these connections, and
Mhm.
my light just wants to shine forth.
Heck yeah. I'm with it. I'm with it, yo.
Okay, take care, everybody.
Okay, wait. Go.